Welcome back to another Acceptable Casualties battle report. Today we have the Storm Battalion for the Soviets facing off against the SS Panzergrenadier Kampf Group. It's going to be SS Viking list, 1,500 points playing pincer. We'll be right back to go over the Soviet and German lists. So here we have our 1,500 points of Soviet Storm Battalion. Down here we have our 1IC, 2IC, and Battalion Commissar. Up here we have two exact storm companies that are going to have two SMG platoons, and then mixed into that they have two anti-tank rifles, a small mortar, a flamethrower, and then a 45 millimeter. That goes for both of those platoons. Over here we have six T-34-85s. They're going to be guards, so fearless veteran. And in the back we have our two 31M heavy Katyushas with the observer, and they have double crews. The whole list is fearless vet. They get smoke pots. No other real big special rules with them. That's all we have here. So 1,500 points Storm Battalion, and we'll be swinging over to check out the SS Wiking list. So here we have our 1,500 points of SS Viking. Starting up here, we have the 1IC and 2IC in their respective half tracks. We have two platoons of half tracks, and half of the bases in both of them have Panzerfausts, as well as just MGs or rifle MGs. MGs. Okay. Going down the line over here, we have two mortar half tracks, two flame half tracks, and then two of the 7.5 half tracks, two anti-air with the flak gun half tracks, a platoon of Nebelwerfers with the observer, three Stugs, and four Panzer IVs. Anything else special about these guys that I missed?
Yeah, they have. They're the Danish Viking. So pretty much that means these guys, instead of being fearless trained, they shoot as fearless vet. That's only for artillery. And every single troop over here can they have political assassin, which means they aim for the commissar of each group. Like that's their big thing.
Well, that's
still on at 5 or 6.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a lot of shots going into one guy.
Well, we'll be back in a minute to figure this one out for deployment. Like I said, it's pincer, so I'll be back in a flash. So we are back for the deployment phase. We're going to start over here with the Soviets and then work our way over to the SS Viking. Down here, we just brought out one of those storm companies with the 1IC and the Battalion Commissar attached, defending this objective over here. Down here, we have nobody defending this, and that's mostly because we decided to put our T-34-85s in ambush. So wait for a good opportunity to pop those guys out and maybe repay some of the damage Vin's going to do in these first two turns. Over here, it's just, it's a lot of half tracks. Down here, we have one of those platoons of half tracks. I think this is most of the Panzerfausts, right? This one, Vin?
Yeah.
Okay. Then behind them, they're going to be supported by the 7.5 flaks in the tracks and the flame wagons, and it's the 2IC?
That one is 1IC.
1IC, okay. Over here, they have the Nebelwerfers sitting back here in the fields. Their observer is going to be right down here, and their commander is there. Right here in the middle is the second group of half tracks with the 1IC bubble wrapped with the Stugs and the flak tracks. And over there on the northern flank, they have the two mortar tracks and the squad of Panzer 4Hs. So this is how it's looking. All these guys ready to just shoot across the table. It's that one little lonely storm company sitting over there in the hotel. This could be a quick one, or, maybe we could just hold out till our reserves end up coming in. But, we'll have to wait and find out. So we'll be back in a second for top of German, turn 1. So we are here for the top of German turn 1. Things got pretty aggressive for these guys as far as movement goes. The whole lot of the half tracks over there, they all pushed up at the double and tried to work around this building right here. The Nebelwerfers and mortars in the back, they stayed put and they just fired smoke over there. The group of half tracks and tanks that were over here pushed up to the middle of the house and worked their way around here. and the Panzer IVs moved up across that little crossing over there. In the shooting phase, like I said, we did, well, I didn't do, Vin did smoke all around the hotel over there, along on top of the 45 millimeters and anti-tank rifles. Shooting, the Panzer IVs were able to kill one of the SMG bases sitting right there. And then the Stugs down here, they fired a couple shots off as well into the group there on the objective, and I just made both of my saves. So not a lot of shooting, more positioning this turn. We're probably going to pop that ambush and see what we can do down here to these guys at the top, or I'm sorry, at the bottom of Soviet's turn 1. So we are back for bottom of Soviet turn 1. Pretty good turn for the old Red Army. Down here, we decided to pop our ambush and string these guys out along the fence and then push them into the woods over there and then focus all their fire into the half tracks over here. So in the shooting phase, we fired it was a mix of shots. It was 24 cannon shots because they went at the double, and it was a mix between the half track teams, the flame tracks, and then we blew up all of them. And then Vin failed every one of his 5-up saves to keep those guys alive, except for one. So all that's left is the sergeant in the back over there. He's pinned. He's got the last man standing, all that stuff. Over here, the two 7.5 millimeter half tracks, they got fired at from the anti-tank rifle and the Maxim machine gun on the second level over there. They did have concealment because of the smoke from around the house, but we were able to still get one kill with the anti-tank rifles on that one there, and then we were able to pin the other one, and then the machine gun wasn't able to get anything to rip through. So that was our entire shooting phase right there. Pretty good, pretty happy with it. Vin has to make his last man standing for that. We'll do that at the next turn for German's top 2. So we are back for German's top 2. Okay turn. This turn wasn't too bad. They just sort of get everybody in position here. So for the movement phase, the Stugs moved up through that little gap in the hedges right there and made their way into the park. The half tracks and the flak tracks, they started to work their way up the road, probably looking to maybe make an assault next turn or something into that building. The Panzers, they moved up. There's one behind that building there as well. To get in a position to shoot. Their commander ended up getting hung up in the back, but he should be able to bounce back next turn. The guy who made that last man standing check was able to move and pass a skill check to get into that building and contest that objective right there. Shooting phase, we'll start over here. The Pac 38, the 7.5. He fired one shot into there, and I was able to. No, I didn't make my save. You just failed your firepower. The 3 Stugs here, they fired down through the gap here at the 2 T-34-85s, and I think one hit, I failed my save, but then Vin failed his firepower, so he lives to fight another day. On this side, the Panzers, they all missed, and then the mortars, they were able to pin over there, and they got one hit or 2 hits, but I was able to pass one save, and Vin had a 6-up firepower, so he wasn't able to take anybody out. And then the Nebelwerfers, they fired down here. They're able to get 2 bales on the T-34-85s over here. So hopefully I can get those guys back in the tank and get them moving next turn. So we'll be back in a second for bottom Soviet 2. So we are back for bottom of Soviet's turn 2. In our movement phase over here, we were able to unpin our group up there, and then down here, both these guys are still bailed out. Movement, we pushed one guy up to go make sure they were able to contest that objective over there. Stayed put with these 2, and then we moved up the rear tank over here to get in the middle of the street. Shooting phase, we fired one shot. We're playing this just as concealment through the smoke, not the 16-inch view. And we missed that 7.5 up there. Down here, we fired one cannon round into the house for the one guy who's staying in there right now on the objective, and we missed that as well. We shot 4 shots over here into the Stugs, and we were able to blow up one, and then Vin made a save on another one with the 2 hits we had. Up over here, we fired with the 45 millimeter and the anti-tank rifle. We're just in range of the half tracks here. We were able to blow one up and bail out another, and Vin failed his 2 5-up saves to keep those guys alive in that one half track. So that's pretty much what all happened here for the bottom of turn 2 for the Soviets. So we'll be back in a second for top 3 Germans. So we are back for top of turn 3 for the Germans. Pretty decent turn, able to position, get some assaults off. So in the movement phase, the half tracks, the quad flaks, they swung around the corner over here, able to move. Was like almost between 12 and 18 because they're on the streets. The Panzers ended up staying put because their guy couldn't get unbogged on the edge of the riverbed over there. Stug stayed still. Everybody else over here kind of stayed still. So not a lot of movement this turn. Shooting, Stug's fired a couple shots off down here into the T-34-85s. Weren't able to really do any damage. Ton of people. I think it was over here that 7.5. The mortar team failed to smoke over there. All the half tracks over here, all the Panzers, everybody fired off into here, and I think they were able to kill 1 or 2 guys with all the firing there. The Nebelwerfers, they fired their bombardment down here on these tanks. They had a chance to take out 4, was it right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 4, and then they weren't able to hit anything. In assaults, that one half track had another half track with them, and they moved in here. They were able to take out 3 bases, right?
4.
All right, so they would take out 4 bases, and then in the counter assault, I was able to capture one of the half tracks and the troops inside of it, and then Vin failed his motivation, so he had to push himself back. Another note as well was the one soldier that was down here failed his last man standing, so he ended up bailing off the table. So the Germans did make a push. They ended up inflicting some serious casualties on that objective over there, so I'm going to need some reserves coming here for the bottom of turn 3 for the Soviets, or this will start getting a little more interesting than I was hoping it was going to be. So I'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of Soviets turn 3. We were able to get our reserves in. We decided to bring in the other shock company off on that table edge to possibly assist over here because the objective down here looks like it's under control pretty well right now. We were able to unpin the company right there, and we were able to get back in our commander and his tank here. In the shooting phase, we fired 4 shots down here into the 7.5. Of course, we failed our firepower and just got to bail. We fired 4 shots into the Stugs. Vin was able to make both of his saves on the 2 that went through, so that worked out pretty well for him on that. Over here, off of this T-34-85, he fired 2 shots downrange, and he was able to blow up, I think, one of the half tracks, and then the where is he? Tucked away over here. The 45 millimeter and the anti-tank rifle were able to get a bail and then blow up the remaining flak tracks, so they got taken out. The rest of the shooting, nobody was really in range or able to do anything. We decided to stay dug in and just live to fight another day and hopefully fight off another German assault on the hotel. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 4 for the Germans. So we are back for top of turn 4 for Germans. Pretty good turn for those guys. Shooting phase, not too much happened down here. Stugs ended up missing. A bunch of support fire that went into the building over here, but I don't think it really did any damage. Same thing with the Panzer IVs and then the mortars and Nebelwerfers. I think they were able to peel off one guy from the hotel over here. In assaults, the infantry ended up assaulting in here. They lost 2 guys and then got beat back, but I think they did, 3 casualties?
Yeah.
To the Soviets. So they're whittling that group down. And then over here, the Panzers decided to make an assault at the platoon that just came in over there, and they peeled off 5, 6 guys off of them, and then we were just able to bail out the one Panzer, but couldn't get back in combat. So pretty good turn for the Germans. We'll be back in a second for the bottom of turn 4 for Soviets. So we're back for bottom of turn 4 for the Soviets, and oh, it went so good. So shooting phase. First movement, we just kind of shimmied some of our tanks around. Katyushas ended up coming in on reserve, so that was pretty hot. So next turn, hopefully they can do some work. For movement, like I said, we shimmied up some tanks over here. These guys just stayed in the hotel, just waiting to fight. And then we were able to move those guys up into the woods over there and use our flamethrowers to pin down those tanks. And then in the shooting phase, we were able to pop this 7.5 over here, and then we didn't do anything else really in the shooting besides take out one Stug, but Vin ended up passing his motivation. In assaults, we pretty much just assaulted over here. We were able to luckily take out one of the panzers, and that Vin failed his motivation and had to back out. And because of that, we were able to capture 2 of them. So that's all that really happened here. Vin's down 4 platoons, but he's still looking all right for those command tests. But we're going to be back top of turn 5, see what the Germans can muster here. So I'll be back in a flash. So we're back here, top 5 Germans. Pretty decent turn for these guys overall. Shooting, not that much went down, but, well, besides the Nebelwerfers dropping a mortar over here and then me failing every save, known the man, and Vin getting 3 bales. So that kind of sucked. But overall, shooting and movement, not a lot going on, just kind of positioning for assaults. The Panzers ended up assaulting and not getting any casualties, but they did push those guys back out of the woods over there. Down here, the half-track and the Stug assaulted the hotel. We were able to bail out the Stug, but the half-track was able to kill enough of the guys in the building to where combat ended. So now they're pushing to contest that objective, and I have a couple guys left holding that objective right there. So right now, this is how it looks on the table. We're going to be coming back to the bottom of turn 5 for the Soviets, and then hopefully we can get a nice counter assault here and push the guys back a little bit. So I'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of turn 5 for the Soviets, and things went pretty well for us over here. We were able to shoot with these 2 tanks down here and bail out the 1IC. With the 4 tanks over here, we fired 7 shots into the Stug and just kind of put him out of his misery. Up here, we had the 45 millimeter and an anti-tank rifle. We're able to get a shot off on the half track there. Vin passed 1 save for one of his guys, the 5-up infantry saves, and failed another one. So one guy popped out and ended up failing his motivation, so he's off the table. We didn't do any assaults. We failed to dig in over there, looking down to those panzers, so this could get ugly. But before we see what happens if we go on to turn 6, Vin has to roll a motivation down here. He only gets 1 roll because his 1IC is bailed out, so he doesn't get the re-roll. So here we go, Vin, 3 up.
So those dirty SS Nazis.
Yes! Oh, wow, Vin's dice didn't fail him for once. So we'll be back for the top of turn 6. So we are back for top of German turn 6. This one got pretty bloody over here. Movement, Vince started wheeling all of his half-tracks, 1IC, 2IC mortars, all kind of working their way up around that corner over there. Over here, the Panzer IVs, they came in, they shot a couple guys, they ground up a whole bunch of guys in close combat, but we were able to take one out on a bail, which forced Vin to take the motivation because the 2 that died earlier. So he failed his motivation, but he did wipe out pretty much one of my platoons down to last man standing. So the Panzers are out. So it's all going to come down to those half tracks over there and the Nebelwerfer support. So we will be back at the bottom of turn 6 for the Soviets, and hopefully we can just put these guys out of their misery. So we are back for the bottom of Soviet turn 6. A pretty good turn for us overall. The T-34-85s, we started to wheel around and make our way up through the middle of the town. We failed our last man standing for the 45 millimeter over there, but we did pass for the mortar, so just the 1IC in the mortar staying dug in over there by the objective. On the shooting phase, we were able to blow up one of the mortar half tracks and bail out another one. Vin passed his motivation though, so he's still hanging in there. And then over here with the rockets from the Katyushas, we were able to dig out and kill 2 of the rocket bases. So next turn, Vin's going to probably have to make a push for that objective, and then hopefully we can just take his guys out when they leave cover. But, anything can happen at this point. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 7 Germans. So we're back here, top of turn 7 for the Nazis. And nothing really happened here. Vin passed his morale test, got all of his guys unpinned. They fired 1 mortar shot into the tank right here, and I was able to make the save. Nebelwerfers down here, they were able to fire. Vin still got 2 hits with the reroll because he only has 1 guy left, but I rolled double 6s on the old Stalin dice. So they're just pinned. Hopefully we can unpin and return the favor next turn. Stormtrooper moves. He moved up over there with some of the half tracks trying to make a play this objective right here. Hopefully we can get those T-34s up there next turn and put an end to it. So we'll be back for bottom of turn 7 for the Soviets. So we're back at the bottom of turn 7, slowly chipping away here. So we started pushing the T-34-85s up around here. We were able to shoot with that one T-34-85 and take out the commander for the Naval Warfare team over here. Back on this side, we were able to put a couple shots into the last mortar half track and take him out. So that's all we did there. Pretty much got this objective bubble wrapped, and down here we still got enough guys near to contest. So Vin has his motivation now. 2 rolls.
2 rolls.
3 up, Vin.
Roll
that leaner.
Yes!
You son of a... All right, so we're going to go back to, is it top of turn 8? Top of turn 8, and the slow bleed continues. So we are back here for top of German turn 8. One last hurrah. So the Nebelwerfer ended up firing down here, and he was able to range in again and, confirm his hit with having the reroll. And he killed one of them. Oh, they killed the sergeant. Up here, the one IC, he decided to go for the glory instead of go home with his tail between his legs. And he rode into 2 T-34-85s doing Overwatch as he assaulted the mortar, and things did not go well. Transport blew up. Vin failed the 5 up. So, yeah, well, the warrior saved, and then that was the end of that. So Vin has decided to concede. He has the 2 IC back there. He has 1 Nebelwerfer here, and he has the Observer down here. So there's really not enough left on the table to do it. So that's the end of the game. Victory Soviets. We'll be back in a second to do the recap. So we are back for the end of game recap. I guess we'll just start with the Soviets and how things went for us. So with our deployment, obviously we wanted to lock down the hotel over here, and there's a lot of open ground over here and the fences and everything. So we decided to hopefully use this area over here between the forest, the fences, to stage our ambush. And when Vin came up the road at the double, I mean, it was... I don't think it could have been an easier choice for me to make than to set my T-34s up around here and just open up into them, because I don't want to say this decided the game, but this definitely made the game a lot easier as far as only having to go over and defend half that table. As far as the defense goes, Katyusha's coming in. They did all right. I mean, they were able to pluck out a couple of units. Really didn't do too much. T-34-85s were great as far as controlling the Stugs where they were able to go, and the half tracks on this side of the table, while the infantry kind of just delayed the advance on that side over there. I think overall, kind of like how the defense got set up, how everything played out with the tanks being able to, control the side of the table and then push up over there. But I think the story of it is more or less the failed charge on the southern flank here by the half tracks. I think if that would have went a little bit better, or maybe would have been a little more patient with it, it could have definitely changed how this game's outcome would have been, because I would have had to defend 2 flanks instead of 1. But as far as like staring on the Germans, Nebelwerfers again, man, I mean, they do pretty good as far as taking out my Katyushas or just kind of keeping units pinned and smoked out. They're always a threat to deal with, especially in this game over here where I kind of had to stay static with my infantry. And if I popped them out of any of the terrain over there, I mean, they were just going to be easy pickings. Vin, I don't know, what do you think about how the game went for you guys?
Definitely, that was...
Yeah,
that was dumb.
Well, it's your first game with half track, so you're allowed to do something stupid. I mean,
yeah.
Just don't do it again.
No, I wouldn't. Just at the 30-inch.
At the double. It's pretty tempting.
I was like, that was pretty sweet. The Panzers did pretty much exactly what I wanted them to do, except for the only thing that helped me up was just him being bogged on that river for those 2 turns.
Oh, yeah, up top. Yeah, when he got...
I don't think it would have made a difference, like in the end anyway. But it definitely gave you a huge issue. The Stugs... I was thinking about actually running them into the building a lot earlier, but I kind of figured what happened here was going to happen to them if I did that. So that's why I kind of had them hold back until the last one was able to go. Yeah,
that would have been right. I think if you would have rushed those Stugs up there through the middle of the table, you'd have been giving up side armor for those T-34s. It could have gotten ugly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, like I said, the north side of the table, I think that went pretty good for you overall. Like the Panzers had a really good push. The half tracks, I mean, even though they got taken out on that side, I mean, they were able to go in there and do a boatload of casualties, get pushed back, and then come back in again. So, I mean, I think that side of the table went really, really well for you. I mean, you can just tell by the amount of casualties I took. I mean, I lost 2 full platoons over there of infantry just to the half tracks and the Panzer IVs. They were really, really good. Just, down here, this
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, it'll be. Yeah, I think like overall, I think it'll be a fun list to play against. I'll be looking forward to seeing a little bit more.
Yeah. And one last thing, if anybody leaves any comments, just kind of giving me pointers on how to run half tracks, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, so. And if there's any way for you guys to roll dice from halfway around the world and maybe help Vin out during his games, that would be great too. But I don't think we've developed that technology yet. But if anybody knows of it, please forward it to us because Vin could definitely use it.
Ones and twos.
But that's all we got for today. So keep an eye out, like or subscribe, all that stuff. See you guys later.